the Middling Along podcast. I'm your host, Emma Thomas, founder of Managing the Menopause and the Triple Shift. And let me introduce today's guest to you. So my guest today is Erin Gallagher. And Erin is the CEO and founder of Ella, which is an inclusive network unlocking women's access to human, social and financial capital. She's the founder of the Hype Women movement and host of the Hype Women podcast. Erin was named a 2023 Top 100 LinkedIn creator and penned, which I'm sure we're going to get into, one of the top 100 most influential LinkedIn posts of the decade. She's also the creator of The Fairway, an inclusive, intersectional, intimate spaces where every woman has a seat to give and get business. And we are mostly here to talk about her fantastic book, Hype Women, Breaking Free from Mean Girls, Patriarchy and Systems Silencing You, which is out on October the 14th. Welcome to the podcast, Erin.
Thank you, Emma. I'm so excited to be here with you. And you and I are on sort of opposite sides of the pond, right? I'm kicking off the start of the day in Chicago, and you're in London wrapping yours. But I'm thrilled to be here with you.
Thank you very much for joining us so early in the day and handing off small boy responsibilities to your other half. Well done.
Best of luck, and sorry in advance for any screaming you hear in the background.
I'm sure they're very, very well behaved. So thank you. I've had an advance reader's copy of your book, which I've absolutely loved. But for anybody, if there is anybody listening who isn't familiar with you or kind of how Hype Women came into being and blew up as a movement, I would love to hear you kind of retell it in your own words.
Yeah. So what's interesting is I believe that we all have ideas every single day, those sort of nudges that pull us towards something, spark. We don't always follow that intuition. There's a lot of reasons that we don't. Some of it is based on capacity. We don't have the time. We don't have the energy. We don't have the space. Some of it is based on our own sort of self-talk. I shouldn't do that. It's not worth it. It's not going to be anything. I'm not a voice that
Who am I to say such a thing?
Who am I to say such a thing? What right do I have, right? All of these things that stop us. But there are times when that comes to you and you just don't fuck it up. You let it happen. You roll with it. You sort of channel it. And that was what happened to me on January 11th, 2023. I saw a photo from the night before that had been taken at the Golden Globes. And the photo is a picture of Jamie Lee Curtis sitting next to Michelle Yeoh. And Jamie's arms are outstretched. She's screaming. And Michelle's face is in her hands. And so what you come to find out is that Michelle had been nominated and just won Best Actress for her lead role in Everything Everywhere All at Once. And Jamie was celebrating and hyping her in that moment. And what you don't know, that Jamie then told me later was going on, is that this was the first time in Michelle's more than 40-year working actor career that she had ever been nominated.
Wow.
Ever been nominated, let alone won. So before the award was announced and they went to commercial, she was really nervous. And Jamie said, "What's going on? What's happening with you?" And she said, "I'm really nervous. I've never been nominated." And Jamie was like, "What? You've never been nominated?" So when she won, Jamie was unabashed in her hype of Michelle. She was beside herself. That's the image that you see. So again, without context, you see the image and you think Jamie won something. That's what it looks like. And I thought to myself, wow, we so rarely see this. A woman celebrating another woman's success as if it were her own. And so that is what drew me to write this post, the post that kicked off with, "Ladies, this is our vibe for 2023, unabashed hype women. You are going to unlearn what you've been taught, that women are your competition, that they are a threat, that a light on her casts a shadow on you, These are all lies. They're there to make us smaller. They are there to have us distracted from the real issues. They are there to cause infighting.
Mm.
And I was just like, we're done with this. Like we have the opportunity here to stop. This is a feeling all of us have had, are going to have. And it is not our fault. It is our conditioning. So we have an opportunity and a responsibility to make a different choice. So that was sort of the message. And Emma, I wrote it. I didn't overthink it. I posted it to LinkedIn on my phone. And I went to dinner with one of my best friends, Asia Starday. And we had a great dinner. And I didn't even look at my phone on the way home. And the next morning I woke up and it was everywhere. And the reason it was everywhere is because Jamie Lee Curtis's friend saw my LinkedIn post and sent it to her.
And let's be clear, you did not know her before, Jamie Lee Curtis, before this point.
Her at all. I did not know her. I had no interaction with her. I knew of her, right? Of course, I knew who Jamie Lee Curtis was, but I didn't know Jamie, and Jamie didn't know who the hell I was. And so her friend sends her this LinkedIn post and says, hey, I really feel like this woman, Erin, has captured you and who you have always been. I thought you would enjoy this. And so Jamie posts it to her then 5.6 million followers on Instagram.
Yeah, no biggie.
Right. And so it was pouring gasoline on a fire. The fire was already starting to take hold over on LinkedIn because that post in its own right went viral. But when she took it into her orbit, it launched it into another stratosphere. And so from there, so much has come. So much has come. But I think back sometimes, Emma, what if I had seen that photo and just kept scrolling? What if I had seen that photo and just kept scrolling and not listened to that intuition in me that said, I have something to say about this. This is something we need to talk about. It would not have started this cycle of events that have occurred since, where my life has gone in a very different direction.
Mm. Did you at any point think about not posting it at the time?
No, but I think a version of me 5 years before, I would have absolutely not posted it. And here's why. I would have heard all the voices of the people in my life, personally and professionally, who were saying to me, you aren't good enough. You're too vulnerable. Your vulnerability is a liability. I would have listened to the fear. Are you sure you should be posting this? Because remember, an Asian woman just won, but now you're talking about a white woman. Granted, that's a whole other conversation. We can have it if you want to. I definitely talk about it in my book, but that's a whole other thing that would have kept me quiet. But I didn't listen to any of those things. And I also didn't have anyone with power over me at the time. This was one of the first times in my life that I worked for myself. I wasn't under the thumb of either an organization, a company, or a colleague. And so I had already stripped a lot of that away, Emma, that narrative that would have kept me from doing it. But that took time. That took a lot of time to get to that point where I was able to do that.
And that's essentially what you're unpacking, isn't it? In Hype Women, in the book, it's like recognizing all of that kind of conditioning, all of those parts of the many different systems that we interact with that are telling us these messages. How do we do that kind of unlearning that you've done? How do we push back against those structures? How do we? I think there's one point. I might, with your permission, read a few extracts, but I think there's one point where you're talking about sort of basically installing a new operating system, and that it kind of that those kinds of things don't happen overnight.
They don't. I say that when you have an operating system that has kept you alive for decades, rewiring it is going to take significant effort, and then actually applying it, trusting it, and shifting. That's going to take time. Like, you can't speed it up. That's the thing that's frustrating, is you can't speed it up. So So I have absolutely in the past 5 years completely rewired my operating system. One that was built on seeking chaos and thriving inside of chaos to one that is about seeking calm. And that has been a huge shift for me. And it has been incredibly difficult. It has led to the loss of a lot of friendships, relationships. It led to me exiting the first company that I co-founded 2.5 years after I co-founded it. It has been a death and a rebirth. So this isn't like overnight, simple, easy, quick stuff, but there are shifts that you can take every single day that start to get you there, and then it becomes your new homeostasis.
And you have and this is one of the parts of the book that I really appreciated was the shifts, your little call out, box out parts at the end of each section, just kind of reiterating, I guess, and repeating for people and simplifying those kind of different shifts depending on what you've been covering in that particular section. But let me read one little excerpt. So I wasn't able to copy and paste from the proofing tool, but I've taken little sneaky snapshots. Don't tell anyone. I don't want to get in trouble.
Guess what? We can do whatever the fuck we want. Okay. Here's what's so great about this. No one can stop us. No one can tell us what to do. This is my book. We can do whatever we want. Okay.
Excellent. All right. So here's one of the early parts that I chopped out. Growing up as a hypervigilant, self-motivated, people-pleasing perfectionist made me the ideal worker when I entered the professional world, in inverted commas. I was an expert at anticipating others' needs, of seeing around corners, and of identifying a potential problem before it happened. What it looks like from the outside is a person who has it all together and is ready for anything. What it feels like on the inside is running on a treadmill whose speed and incline continues to increase while catching and juggling balls that are flying at you from every direction with varying intensity and increasing weight. And I'm quite sure that there will be people listening who kind of nodding along going, well, yeah, sounds like me.
Yeah. Check. Yep.
So talk to us about some of the ways, and I apologize if you can hear it's torrential rain, so I'm hoping it's outside. I hope it's not picking up on the
also I can see it because you have this beautiful atrium that you're inside of with the glass roof.
Biblical rain here in the UK this week.
I want to know why, Emma? Because you just read my book out loud in a recording. So what this isn't like a omen, like we're being having something cast down on us because we're in trouble. This is release. That's
release. Wait for the bit where I say pleasure out loud 5 times. Who knows what will happen at that point?
I love that.
So talk to us about some of the things that you did to deprogram some of the things that you talk about in the book.
Yeah, it was a multitude of exercises that I did, the first of which was an audit. I really audited my life and where I was putting my time and energy in every capacity, whether it was personal or professional, whether it was around my children or my marriage. I really started to take a look around and to say, is this still working for me? I don't think we give ourselves the permission to ask that question often enough. We're in go mode so often because we're in survival mode and we have a lot to do. So we don't often say to ourselves, yeah, let's sit and really kind of assess whether or not this is the right thing. But when you do it, it becomes quite clear where you are drained of your energy, where you feel depleted and bad about yourself and shamed and blamed. And on the opposite side, where you feel fulfilled, where you feel poured into, where you feel energized. So when I did that, I said, okay, I have been abandoning myself in service to others as an MO for my entire life. I've tied all of my value and my worth to my service. outside of myself. How much longer am I going to do this? And so when I looked around and I said, I know that I have these friendships that have lasted for years, decades, that we continue to sort of, I wouldn't even say the word is nurture. I don't think that was what was happening. It was inertia. You know, a lot of the relationships in your life are there because of inertia. You just keep going along. You don't really think about whether or not they are part of your growth. And I looked at all of them and I started to pull back my time and energy from the people, places, and programming that I felt were holding me back. And when I did that, two things happened. One, I had a hell of a lot more time. And two, I also had a hell of a lot more energy because I wasn't being depleted and drained of both by pushing out all of that externally to other people. So with that newfound time and energy, I got to decide what was going to replace it. And those actions, activities, and new ways forward began to lay the groundwork for a new blueprint. And so that has been honestly the way that I have kind of done this 180 in a lot of areas of my life over the past 5 years.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna, if I may, I'll read another little excerpt which I like, which is your could, would, should, or could, should, would framework.
That's good.
So let me read that bit of the book, talking about kind of deciding whether one could or should or would do something. Could I do it is about ability. Is this something I'm capable of doing? This is purely a skill-based, practical and logistical question. For example, could I fly a plane today? No, I have no training, skill set or ability to fly a plane. But could I reorganise my son's art bins today? Yes, I'm capable of doing that. I'll stay with this art bin organisation example for the next two questions. Should I do it is focused on strategy. Is this something that has merit, is useful, or helps you achieve a greater goal? Example, should I reorganise my son's art bins today? The answer might still be yes, based on what's going on in my life. Perhaps this will help them spend more time creating art versus staring at their iPads, or maybe the clutter of the bins is spilling over into another area, making life a little bit more chaotic. Organising them may prove to be helpful, therefore maybe I should do it. Would I do it? Asks, if given many choices for how to spend your time, would you choose this one? Do you have a desire to do this? Does this bring you pleasure? Back to the bins. Would I, if given many options, still choose to reorganise my son's art bins? A big old fuck no to that. First, no one cares if I organise them. Second, no one appreciates it. Third, I resent that no one cares or appreciates it. Fourth, I tell my children and husband that I reorganise the bins. Fifth, in response, they don't care or appreciate it. Sixth, in response to their response, I resent them. Seventh, I sit back down 2 hours later with organised bins and unappreciative family members, and I'm angry. They read books and played on iPads and did whatever the fuck they wanted, and I, good citizen and productive mother, organised the damn bins that are just going to be dumped out and used and then put back in the wrong place, in the wrong way, and. And I think that's just perfect and a very, very helpful framework for thinking about many things.
Emma, you killed that.
I could read your audiobook, narrate your audiobook for you if you like.
Listen, that was a tough excerpt to read because I write the way I talk. But you got it, right? You nailed it. And you,
because I felt it in my bones.
So that right there. That's it right there, Emma. You were able to read it exactly the way that I wrote it because you felt it.
I'm sure we've all felt it.
This is an inherent truth. It is why it resonates. Every single mother has lived that example. And I watched my mom. I still watch my mom. She's 71 years old. She still comes and organizes the damn art bins in my house without me asking, without me desiring her to do so. I don't actually get to sit and spend time with her when she visits because when she comes here, she is here to work. That that is the truth. I am 43 years old. When my mother walks into the room, if I am sitting, I get up. I feel the pressure of the way that I was raised, that if I am awake, I should be doing something.
Mm-hmm.
This has been the unlearning that I've had to do. And it's also been the road to forgiveness for my mother, because I have been very resentful that was my life with her, and it still is in many ways, and that it was the framework and the DNA that was forced upon me, one which I began to just live out without questioning. And so when I make these different choices now, when I sit there, I mean, it is difficult. It is still difficult for me to sit and enjoy myself without looking around at everything that could be done. And so this framework is very helpful, because it doesn't mean we can always live in this area of wood. That would be lovely, right? But people probably wouldn't end up going to school, and groceries wouldn't be ordered and things. But there's a lot of stuff that we as women create in this category that doesn't need to happen, but we feel like we are here to do the work. And so we create it. And then we are resentful, and we are depleted, and we are angry. And we are contributing to the 10.9 million, we are contributing to the $10.9 trillion in unpaid labor that women do every single year. We get to decide if we want to keep doing that. I have taken some of that cash back. I'll tell you what, Emma, in the past few years, I have started to contribute much less to that bullshit number, because I am pouring back into myself, and I am not doing work in my own life just for the sake of being able to say that I did it.
And I know that you talk about this too in the book, that sort of, you talked about just now about not abandoning yourself in service, but actually when you start doing that sort of unlearning, reprioritizing, sometimes a lot of people don't like that. Can get some pushback.
Oh, what do you mean sometimes?
Some people, sometimes.
Here's the deal. When this is a quote that I actually quote in my book from Emma Gannon, where she says, and
she's great. Love her.
I've got the book here. Let me quote it like exactly so that I do it the service that it deserves. So what she says about boundaries is that the only people who get upset when you start setting boundaries are the ones who benefited from you not having them. So,
and I think we all need that on a coaster or a Post-it note stuck on the wall.
I mean, all of it, right? Like maybe on our phone screen because we look at it so damn much. Like that's the reality here, is that when you start to set boundaries with people, they will do one of two things. They will either appreciate them, understand, adjust, and you will grow together. You will shift. Your relationship will shift. Or they will reject those boundaries. They will disrespect those boundaries. They will cross those boundaries. They will shame you. So in the past, I would have taken that rejection, shame, and blame as direction, meaning something was wrong with me and I shouldn't have done that. I need to change and I should listen to them. Now I take it as a sign of where, again, that time and energy should go. That person has now shown me everything I need to know about them. And it's not mine. What they're dealing with, what they've decided to do in this life, their response to my relationship with them, that is on them. And so when you start to make these decisions, when you start to make these shifts, the way that you show up for people is a new identity. And That does not work for everyone. When I was in my first company and I started to wake up to the coma that I had been forcibly induced into, I looked around and said, what is happening here? Why am I being treated like this? Why am I being made to feel this way all the time? And when I started to push back and say, no, that's not okay. I am not going to do that. I don't deserve that. The responses from the people that had been disrespecting me and mistreating me, it was shock. It was absolute shock because they realized,
who is this?
Exactly.
Where did Erin go? What have you done with her?
It was kind of like, hey, everyone go on mute for a second. What happened? Why is she remembering? Like that was the look on their faces. They were like, oh no, she remembers. She remembers who she is. As soon as I remembered who I was, and this is the first line of my book, right? The moment I remembered who the fuck I was, the spell was broken. They realized in that moment, it was gone. Their power was gone. They lost all ability to control me. And so I was now worthless to them. If they couldn't control me and puppeteer me and get away with what they were getting away with, I was worthless to them. And that is what's going to happen. There are going to be people who say, never mind, I'm good. I'm done with this. And they're going to walk away from you, or you are going to walk away from them. It's going to be one of those two things. And so I walked away. I said, yeah, you're telling me that I'm opting out, but I never opted into this. This is something that women are told every single day. In our jobs, in our workplaces, we're told this in our relationships with our spouses. We're told this in, areas where we're volunteering in our community. When we say no, when we say not anymore, it's like, oh, wow, you're opting out. Huh? That's a bummer. That's disappointing. But what you get to say back is, I never opted into this. Whatever this is, no. I never opted in. So you don't get to tell me I'm opting out of something that I, quote unquote, signed up for. You changed the game. You changed the rules. And this is no longer something that I'm going to be a part of. So that is what I started to do in every aspect of my life. And Emma, people were pissed. People still are pissed. They do not like this version of me. They like a version of me that is struggling. They like a version of me that is afraid. And so this version does not work for them.
And I guess that's somewhat easier to do, or let's flip it the other end. That's not so easy in terms of your kind of close family, often, in terms of no one wants to walk away from the parent or sibling. Or
you're right. And I have an episode on the Hype Women podcast where I had my mom on, and we talked about this. I mean, we went through this together, and it was incredibly difficult and painful because my mom was doing the best she could with the tools that she had, because she was raised by a mother who was doing the best she could with the tools that she had. And then she transferred all of that to me. And instead of me doing the best I could with the tools that I had, I looked at the tools and I said, these ones are broken. And I threw them away. And I said, we need these new tools. And I brought them in. And my mom was deeply uncomfortable with this new set of circumstances. And so I had to reparent her and reparent myself in the conversation of how our relationship would be as a woman now over 40 with my own children, a woman who had become a mother. I was no longer the little girl that she bore into this world. I had lived 1,000 lives. And so we were meeting in a very different capacity. And what I said to my mom was, these are the things that are no longer acceptable. And I don't have any control over the way that you are going to respond to this. I don't have any control over your behavior or your choices. The only thing I have control over is how I decide to engage and allow you to have access to me and my family. And I laid it out that way. And so we didn't speak for a while.
Mm.
And that's not what my mom wanted. My mom was very upset about that. My mom wants access to me all the time. And she's an amazing mother and she's an amazing woman. And she has a lot of tools that were thrust upon her that do not work. And so that has been the evolution of our relationship and the evolution of myself. And honestly, it has helped her to sort of make some different choices about what she wants the next decade to look like for her. But again, to your point, Emma, this wasn't easy. Having those conversations with my mother was incredibly painful. The fallout from them hurt. She was upset. So this isn't like a simple act, and it's why most people don't do it.
Yeah.
Most people go, it's just not worth it.
I'm not prepared to do that. Yeah.
Here, right? Like, no, I just forget it. Like, I'll see her for this amount of time. I know that thing happens and it makes me triggered every time. And I know that it's upsetting, but don't want to go there. I will disassociate from my body. I will compartmentalize and I will just push through. And I just decided I can't live my life like this anymore. And so there are a lot of us who are breaking that generational trauma. And we are sort of the black sheep of our family coming through. And so I have so much empathy and solidarity with those that are willing to take this on. And for those that aren't, I understand why. You just have to decide, you have this one life. How do you want to live it?
Mm. Erin, what's next after, there's obviously a lot going on around the book launch, but where would you like to see Hype Women kind of as a movement going from there?
What has been happening the past 2 years with this movement that we created, and what has come through in my writing of this book, and what I hope will be the experience of consuming the book. I mean, Emma, it is so exciting and joyful for me to know that you read it. Like, it's a really intimate experience to know that you have read what was just in my head and now is on paper. It's daunting. But to think about how you might be thinking about things differently for yourself because of the stories that I've shared and the ways that I have communicated, you can move forward differently. So what I see continuing to happen, and it's even happening around the launch of the book, and I believe it will only grow once the book is publicly in the hands of every woman who wants to read it and every person who wants to read it, right? Hype women is a noun and a verb. Anyone can hype women. Anyone can read this and better understand the experience of women. It is this idea that we are building an entirely new ecosystem. The Hype Women economy takes into account the fact that we all have capital that we can deploy at any given moment. And it's in 4 areas: human, social, financial, and political. And in each of these areas, it is up to us to deposit that capital into other women and to also make withdrawals from the women who want to deposit it into us, right? The karma is the currency of the Hype Women economy. So I'll break down really quickly what these 4 areas are. Human capital is what you know. This is your experience, it's your expertise, it's your knowledge. That is something that you are able to invest into other people. That's your human capital. So you can think about that and as a means of currency when you're exchanging, because we have to get way creative as women. We don't have all the power and all the money, not because we don't deserve it. We don't have access. right? Yeah, it's coming, right? 2030, like it's coming, y'all. Get ready. But this is like a creative way of looking at capital that's not just financial. So that's human capital. Your social capital is who you know. This is your network. It's your relationships. It's the people that you can make introductions for, the rooms that you can, invite others into. That's your social capital. Your political capital is who you are. This is your reputation. This is what you are known for in the world. It is where you have power and influence. It's your platform in whatever capacity you have a platform. And then financial capital is money. It's just straight cash, right? This is your investment. This is where you can actually do these things. So to me, what I have been pushing for these past few years when I named this sort of idea, this entity, this action, this movement, is that hype requires action. It's not passive. You can't call yourself a hype woman and quietly admire someone. Nope.
Yeah, doesn't happen by osmosis.
Sorry, that's not hype. Hype is a transfer of capital. So here's how you can hype my book if you're listening to this. You can transfer your financial capital to me. Buy my book. That's the first way. You can transfer your social capital to me. Introduce someone that you think needs to read this book to it. Bring it into the networks that you have. Bring it into the rooms where it belongs. Your political capital. Promote it. Talk about it. Share it on a podcast, right? Emma is transferring her political capital to me by having me on the podcast that she created. This is a transfer of capital that we're doing right now. I am transferring my human capital by sharing my experience and my expertise. How you can share your human capital with me in the endeavor of launching this book is if you've launched a book before, you have knowledge of how I can be doing this better, tell me. My success will not take away from yours. Any success that is meant for you will not be stolen by me. And so that is the other thing that we have to shift as women, is to stop thinking, I don't know if I want to tell them, because what if they win?
Gatekeeping. Men
don't do this because they see themselves everywhere. They know there will always be a place for them. And so they have grown up always transferring that capital to one another. Women have been taught that it's finite. There's only a few spots. There's only a few opportunities. So again, this is that moment where I say to you, I do not want you to feel shameful about that or to blame yourself. I want you to recognize that it's your conditioning. So when you have that moment where you see someone succeeding, here's Emma's podcast. Emma's out here doing a podcast. Who the hell does Emma think she is? Is she good enough to do a podcast? How did she get that person to be on her podcast? When I have those thoughts, I'm going to pause and I'm going to say, of course I'm thinking these things. I have been taught my entire life to think these things. This has nothing to do with Emma. It has nothing to do with her podcast. It has everything to do with my desire to do the same. And so you don't stop there though. You can't just be like, cool, I'm not going to be hateful anymore. No. You have to actually hype. Hype is the way to start to rewire your brain. And so I then go and I share Emma's podcast on my platform. I send you a note, right? And I say, you're doing amazing. I love this. I come and I am on your podcast. This is how we do it. Because when you do those things, you actually start to replace the cortisol with endorphins. And your body says, I want more of that.
And so it gets a little bit easier every time.
It gets a little bit easier every time. And so that's how I want this to continue. It's how I want this to permeate every facet of our lives. And it's how I want women to shift the way we think about one another.
That seems like a perfect place to wrap up. Erin, thank you so much for coming on. I'm still having a little bit of a pinch me moment, having followed you for some time. I will obviously put show notes, links to find you in all your different guises, where people can buy the book. Is it just, let me double check, do you know if it's out in the UK the same time it's out in the US? It is. Erin is nodding. Please go and buy a copy for yourself, for a friend, for your daughter, for your, I don't know, maybe even for your mother. Sadly, my mum she's still with us, but she has pretty advanced dementia. There are conversations that I would have liked to have had with her, I think, around this, but it's too late for us. But
you know what, Emma? It's not too late. Your mom may not be able to respond in the way that you hope, and she may not be able to take in what you're saying, but you still should have the conversation. You don't even have to have it sitting across from her if that's not what's best for her at this stage of her dementia, but you do need to have it. You need to get those words out of your body. So whether you put it in writing, or whether you put it in a voice note, or whether you have this conversation with a friend and you say, I just need to do a little bit of role playing and I want to talk to you as if you were my mom. When you get that out of your body, it will make you feel lighter. It is what happened to me when I wrote this book. I released 15 physical pounds of stored trauma in my body that I had been carrying for more than 20 years. And so, it's so beautiful to hear you say that this is something you want to do. My mom tells a story about how I don't know if she'll be okay with me sharing this, but honestly, she also knows it's just a free for all. My mom tells me this story. She and my dad never should have gotten married. Hey, they did, and here I am. And so hopefully that's the reason why. And my sister, right, we are here. But when she and my dad went to a couples therapist, because they both were like, this isn't working, and they didn't really know what to do, the therapist said, you both have come to the same place. It sounds like you want to dissolve this marriage. What is stopping you? And my mom said, well, I need my mother's permission. Okay. So the therapist says, all right, cool. Let's get her on the phone. And she said, oh, my mother's dead. Okay. And the therapist said, okay, I'm your mother. Tell me what you need to tell me. And my mom said, I don't want to be in this marriage anymore. And the therapist said, I give you permission to get a divorce. And that was it.
Wow.
So sometimes it doesn't look exactly the way that we think it's going to look, but we do have to get it out of our body. So I really want you to have that conversation, Emma.
Erin, I will. Thank you. Thank you so much for giving us your valuable time. And I will be hype women to the best of my ability this side of the pond. And I wish you every success with the book. Continued success.
Thank you, Emma. So grateful for you. What a beautiful conversation. You're a stunning podcast producer and host.
Thank you. Thanks for listening to the Middling Along podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please go and leave us a review over at Apple Podcasts. You can check out the full back catalogue of all our episodes over at middlingalong.com. You can also find out more about my work as a coach. Go to www.thetripleshift.org.